This story is about a student studying in last semester in USA, and he told this story in a heartfelt, cinematic style. The morning light filtered through the half-drawn blinds of the small room, spreading over piles of books, sticky notes, and a half-empty coffee mug. It was early March, and the campus outside was slowly waking up to the sound of birds and bicycles. Iden Rose sat by the window, eyes red from another sleepless night. He was 22, a senior at Brookfield University, and only 2 months away from graduation. On paper, he was the kind of student professors liked, quite responsible, always turning in assignments on time. But what people did not see was the heavy storm inside him. He was not just a student anymore, he was a caretaker, a son, and someone running out of time. Aiden's phone buzzed with a notification medication reminder at 7 a.m. He saw opened the old medication box on his desk and sent a picture to his mother. Took it already, Mom, don't worry. He smiled faintly after sending the text through. He knew she would not see it immediately. His mother, Helen Rose, was at the country hospital in OE, 2 states away, battling stage 3 lymphophobia. Lymphophobia. It has been almost a year since her diagnosis. Since then, Aiden's life had split into two halves: the life of a student at Brookfield and the life of a son waiting for updates from hospital hallways. Every weekend he worked part time at a coffee to cover rent, and every paycheck went toward hospital bills. His father had left when Arden was 13. Your mom's strong, he used to say before disappearing one summer morning. Now it was just Arden and his mother against the world. Brookfield University was beautiful in spring, students laughing on the lawns, music echoing from prom windows, couples walking hand in hand, but Aidan rarely joined in. His best friend Jordan tried to pull him out of his shell whenever he could. Lord, you have got to breathe sometimes, Jordan said one afternoon as they sat on the library steps. Your graduation in 2 months. Don't you want to enjoy at least one game night? Aidan smiled tiredly. Maybe next week. Jordan looked at him for a moment, then nodded. He had stopped pushing after a while, realizing Arden was not avoiding fun, he was surviving. Inside the library, Aiden opened his laptop and stared at his started his thesis draft. The psychology of resilience. How ironic, he thought that he was writing about resilience while barely holding himself together. That evening, as he prepared to close the cafe where he worked, his phone rang. It was his mom. Nurse, I didn't. I'm calling about your mother's test results. Eden froze, his hands trembling as he held the phone. She's stable, the nurse continued quickly, sensing his panic, but the doctor recommends an additional round of chemotherapy. It's going to be expensive. I'm sorry. He exhaled slowly. Expensive. The word felt like a knife. He walked home that night through the quiet streets of Brookfield, his thoughts blurring into the sound of wind and passing cars. He did not cry. He had not cried in months. He just kept walking until his legs hurt enough to drown out everything else. The next morning, Iden visited his academic advisor, Professor Campbell. You have been missing classes, Iden, she said gently. You are one of my brightest student, but I'm worried. What's going on? He hesitated, then told her everything: the illness, the bills, the sleepless nights. She listened quietly, then handed him a tissue. I wish I could take this pain away, she said softly. But listen, don't give up now. You have come too far. There are emergency funds for cases like this. Let me help. He wanted to thank her, but this voice broke. For the first time in months, someone had looked at his looked at him not a student or a worker, but as a person barely staying afloat. A week later, a letter arrived in the mail, a scholarship grant covering his final semester's tuition. He stared at it for a long time, the words blurring through tears. He called his mother. Mom, they gave me a scholarship. I don't know how. Her voice cracked through the phone. Oh, sweetheart, I told you. The word cease when you don't give up. For a moment, everything felt lighter. He laughed, really laughed, for first time in months. But life has a cruel way of testing those who are already fragile. One April evening, while he was writing his final paper, a storm broke outside. Thunder shook the windows pane. His phone buzzed again. This time it was the hospital. He answered, already feeling dead. crawl up his spine. Mr. Rose, the wise said, your mother's condition has worsened. You might want to come as soon as possible. He was on a bus within the hour, clutching his backpack and praying under his breath. The rain lashed against the windows like time itself was trying to stop him. When he reached the hospital 12 hours later, his mother was awake but weak. Her smile, though faint, still carried warmth. Aiden, she whispered, you look tired. He sat beside her, holding her hand. I'm okay. You just have to get better, Mom. She smiled. You always say that, but listen, promise me something. Finish your semester. Don't let my illness become your reason to stop. He nodded, tears spilling silently. I love you, she said softly. You have made me proud every single day. That was the last full sentence she ever spoke to him. She passed away 3 days later, just before dawn. The sky outside the hospital turned pale gold as Arden stood by her bed, her hand still in his. The silence felt endless. He did not remember much of funeral. Friends called, professors sent messages, but everything blurred into static. Back at his dorm, the world seemed smaller, emptier. Her voice lingered in his head. Finished your semester. He almost dropped out, but then he found the note she had left for him tucked inside one of her old receipt books. My dearest Arden, life will test you more than you think you can bear, but when it does, remember strength is not in never breaking, it's in rising again. Love, Mom. He folded the note and kept it in his wallet. May arrived, the final semester's last week. Arden stood before his class, delivering his thesis presentation, The Psychology of Resilience. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. In psychology, he began, resilience is not the absence of pain, it's the decision to keep going despite it. It's what makes ordinary people extraordinary. The class was silent. Some of them knew his story, most did not, but in that moment they all felt the depth of his words. When he finished, the professor stood and clapped first, then entire room followed. Haydn smiled faintly, a tear slipping down his cheek. June 10th, the campus lawn was filled with families, cameras, and laughter. Haydn wore his black gown and cap, standing among hundreds of students. He looked around, feeling both full and how hollow at once. When his name was called, he walked across the stage, the crowd clapping. In the audience, an empty chair sat in the front row with a small white rose on it. He had placed it there that morning for her. As he received his diploma, he whispered under his breath, "We did it, Mom." That evening, after ceremony, that evening, he sat alone by the river that ran behind the campus. The air smelled of summer and lilac. Jordan found him there, two coffees in hand. "I figured you had be hiding here," he said, sitting beside him. Arden smiled weakly, "Just thinking you did it, man," Jordan said. "Your mom would not would have been so proud." Aiden looked at the water, the sunset, painting it gold. "I think she was. I feel her sometimes like she's still her, just quieter." They sat in silence for a long time. The Jordan said, "What now?" "I don't know," Aiden admitted. "Maybe grade school, maybe I will teach." Mom always said, "Teaching keeps her alive through me." Jordan grinned. "Then that's what you will do." A year later, Aiden Rose became a teaching assistant at Brookfield University. The following year, he rented a small apartment near campus, decorated only with his mother's photos and her old recipe book on the kitchen counter. Every morning before class, he had touched the photo on his desk and whispered, "Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Mom."